The Things We All Carry is a podcast about first responders and their stories surrounding trauma on the job. The intention of this podcast is to raise awareness and share meaningful conversation around a subject often viewed as taboo or simply ignored. Be aware this content may be graphic and it is real. It may not be suitable for children or adults triggered by this subject matter.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Things We All Carry. It's Tuesday afternoon, and this is about the time I should have the show ready to go and loaded up and loaded into the website so it can be released tomorrow morning at 3:30 in the morning. I'm a little behind. I found myself kind of scrambling the last few days, in the last couple of weeks, I think, and talking to a couple of people, including people like Kenny Mitchell. There's something in the air. It's August. August had something in the air. I'm not sure what it was, but I scrambled in August, and I kind of felt like I was just behind the eight ball emotionally and mentally for a while. And I'm coming out of it, and thankfully I'm coming out of it. Thankfully to people like Steven Sims and Kenny Mitchell and TJ and even Stephanie from the 5 After Midnight podcast, people that randomly check in or at least entertain my randomness with texts and calls. It's good to know that we have people that are out there and are willing to listen and either talk to you and commiserate or call you out on your bullshit. And I'd be honest with you, every one of those people I mentioned are willing to call me out on my bullshit, and I love it. I need it, and I thrive off of it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened in August. And the best I can tell is I think it's just this time of year. And I'm going to go back to something I haven't spoken about in a long time. And it's my mom. It's my mom's death and the first that come along with that. I'm creeping up on, I looked at the calendar and I realized I'm creeping up on a year anniversary, and I'm blown away to find myself at this point where it's been a year, almost a year since she passed away. And I made the mistake, kind of a mistake, of going back and looking at or listening to a couple of old shows, just kind of intros, trying to see where I can improve or what I can cut or what I can make better or I don't know. It's just, I'm always looking to improve on this show. And so one of the shows I listened to happened to have been the week after she died. And I thought I was ready to listen to it. I wasn't at all ready to listen to it. As soon as I started talking and I heard my voice and I heard the things I was saying, I started crying again. Man, I miss her. I absolutely miss her. And there's been a hole there. And I think that I tried to shove that down for quite a while. I don't think I've fully dealt with her death still. And it's something that I need to get on. I need to start working on and moving past. She's always going to be a hole in my life. That's inevitable, but she's always going to be in my life too. Every time I do something, I think about my mom. I think about what she would say or what she would do. And I don't always agree with everything. And she and I never really always agreed on everything. And that's okay. She was also one of those people in my life that told me how I needed to hear it. She would not hold back. She did not pull punches. She did a little cleaner and a little sweeter than some of my friends do, but she made sure to get her point across when necessary. And maybe that's what I need to talk about. We need that in our lives. We need people like that in our lives. We're not solitary creatures. We're not meant to live and function alone. We are meant to be part of a society, part of a community. And for August, I pulled away from my community. And I can't do that. I need to make sure that I stay in touch and I stay in tune with people and have people stay in tune with me. And I think it's ultra important for all of us, especially those of us who are adding on some experiences or traumas or adding to that glass that we talk about, that water glass where it's drip, 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 or sometimes it's just full on pour. And we need to be able to have someone to talk to dump some of that out. I forgot that. I lost track of that. So I'm back. I'm working on it. I'm reaching out when I need to. And more importantly, I'm open to talking about anything, to be honest with you. And that's necessary. It's very necessary for my own mental health and my own well-being. This week, I'm going to get out into the public a little bit, which is kind of funny because as much as I talk on this and I do the podcast and I put my face out there, I don't do well in those settings. And so this Saturday, I'm going to go down and I'm going to take part in Kenny Mitchell's Operation Yellow Tape. It's his third seminar, and it's a day-long seminar in Richmond, and it's in Chesterfield, near Richmond, just south of Richmond, I believe. And I'm going to see what it's all about. I want to make some connections. I want to meet some people. I want to get my name out there a little bit. I want to get this podcast out there more, and maybe come back with some stories for you guys. So if you're in the Richmond area and you have time this weekend, check it out. Go to Kenny's website. I believe it's kennymitchelljr.com. And Kenny, forgive me if I got that wrong, but it's a good program, and it has a plethora of people with kind of various backgrounds and various topics to talk about. I am going to be a spectator, and I'm going to speak to people as they want to talk to me, but I'm not going to present, but I will be there. So if you want to come hang out or say hi, please feel free to do it, and then touch base with Kenny and just check out what his mission is all about. This week on the show, and this week's episode is episode 133. And this week's guest is TJ Webb. TJ was a cop. He was a cop for almost 20 years. He's out of Delaware, and he finished his career attached to the Marshal Service. And their job was to hunt down the fugitives, basically. And TJ's life was altered in one basically 20-second interaction with a fugitive. And he tells that story on this show, and he talks about his recovery, and he talks about moving forward and getting stronger and getting back to life. TJ has a book out. It's called Just One More. And it makes sense when you listen to the story where he got that title from. Basically, in recovery, he always wanted to do 1 more, 2 more, 3 more, 4, 5 more repetitions, 5 more sets, turn a walk down the hallway into a lap around the hospital. And he has turned that injury and that experience into positivity. And he's taken that positivity, he's taken that approach, and he's trying to teach people, and he's trying to lead by example. He has a couple of, he has a few irons in the fire. Let's put it that way. And he'll talk about all of them in the show. He's an engaging person with a strong personality and just, he's a David Goggins style person, if that makes sense. And if you guys know who David Goggins is, then you'll understand what I mean by that. He is that kind of personality, that kind of strength, and that kind of determination. And it served him well, and it still does serve him well. He's the kind of guy that's up at 3:30 in the morning and in bed by 9, but he's making the most of his life as he goes. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a motivational speaker. He's a coach. He is a fascinating human being with a great story. Once again, as always, I implore you to download it, listen to it, pick it apart. Let me know what you think. Share it with your friends. Reach out to me. Let me hear what you think. I got a message this morning saying, I don't know if this message will be read. And I think I have to set the record straight. I'm one person running this show. I'm hunting down guests. I'm doing the shows. I'm editing the shows. I'm doing the advertising for the shows. Everything that you see and you hear from the things we all carry is me. I'm one person. I try to get to every message I see. I see every message. I read every message. Sometimes it takes me a minute to get back to every message, so bear with me. But I do get back to you, and I do reach out, and I do touch base, and every message is valuable, especially if you're telling me or you're giving me praise for the show or criticism for the show. All of that means so much to me, and that's what I ask you to do that. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, wherever you want to follow me. But let me hear what you think. Give me your feedback, your criticisms, your praise. Give it all to me. I want to hear it. I will share it, and I will reach back to you, and I will discuss it with you. So you guys sit back, listen, enjoy the show, and then get out there and do something for yourselves today. You're ready. I'm ready. We can do this. Yeah, rock and roll. All right. Awesome.
Welcome back to the Things We All Carry. Today, I'm honored to have this guy. This is one of the rare police officers or rare law enforcement officers I've had on the show, and it's something I've wanted to branch into a little bit. And so I was told by a former guest that he would be a perfect fit. And I want to thank TJ for coming on. TJ Webb is my guest today, by the way. And TJ is a former police officer. He's a medically retired police officer. He retired in December of 22, correct, sir?
Correct.
And he is now a public speaker, nutrition coach, and really a number of things. He's got a story to tell, and that is kind of the focus, the nonprofit mission of encouraging people to get involved in their fitness and their mental health, and he's a published author as well. So welcome to the show, TJ. Thanks for coming on.
Man, I appreciate you having me.
And I told you I was going to miss some things in that intro, and I kind of ran with it. So what did I miss? And tell us a little bit about yourself that I did miss.
Hey, well, I think you hit all the headlines pretty good, but yeah, newly published author, public speaker. I do a lot of speaking with first responders, mental health wise, and I have a course called Overcoming Critical Incidents I put on, still on over a breakdown of my shooting I was involved in, my recovery, physically, mentally. I do some other things, other events here and there.
Awesome. Before we get too far into it, let me get that first question out of the way. What's the last song you listened to?
The last song I listened to, I don't remember the last song I listened to. It was probably on the radio this morning, but I listened to a guy. He's been around for a while, but he's not real well known. But his name's the White Buffalo. He's really good. Scout country guy.
Okay.
Should check him out. He's pretty good.
Yeah, never heard of him, so
Yeah.
I'll check him out. I'll put that on I'll find something and put it on a playlist. I'm trying to build this cache of songs on Spotify.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to see who's listening to what and what kind of diversity and variety I have across guests. Where'd you grow up, man?
Grew up in a small town like everyone else, right here in Milford, Delaware.
All right.
Yep.
And you've been there your whole life, or what's the deal?
Yeah, grew up there, worked there. Don't live there anymore now. I'm close. I'm about half hour from there.
Okay.
But yeah, I grew up there my whole life and ended up working there for 20 years and just lived a little further away after that. So hard to work and live in the same place as a cop, being a cop.
It's hard to, especially in a spot where you grew up and everyone kind of, I don't know how big Milford, Delaware is, but I imagine that once you get your face out there, you're pretty known.
Yeah, it's pretty small. It's, population's probably around 12,000 or something. So it's pretty small.
So it's easy to be known, and everyone's it's enough. That's small enough to know business. Put it that way.
Yeah. So needless to say, moved away a little bit, came down here and moved to the beaches of Delaware, and I love it down here.
Awesome. I'm jealous about the beach part.
There you go.
So I grew up in Florida, so the ocean was part of my life growing up, and being kind of inland here in Virginia, that's one of the drawbacks.
Yeah, it's that salt air, man. You miss it.
Oh yeah. There's something. It's healing though, isn't it?
Oh man, we go on vacation a lot, like to the mountains and stuff, and I love it. But it's nothing like to my home. Yes.
No, I agree with you. So, what was childhood like for you? Was it I hate, everyone kind of says, well, we have this typical childhood, but the one thing I found out is nobody has a typical childhood. There's no typical childhood, I don't think.
Yeah. I was going to say it's your typical childhood, but, yeah, I mean, nothing crazy. I had a younger brother. He's about 5 years younger than me. Grew up, my mom and dad, stayed together, never got divorced or anything like that. Rode bikes into town every day, went out, left the house when the sun came up, came home when the sun went down. Played sports all the time, and same old boys running around getting in a little trouble here and there. Nothing major, but
yes, somehow we survived those riding bikes everywhere, staying out from sun up to sundown. And
those days I feel like are long gone.
From hoses.
Those 80s and 90s days, they're no longer.
Yeah, no, they're gone. And like I said, people freak out when kids drink from hoses nowadays, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I lived off of that shit when I was growing up.
Exactly. Yeah.
I stole oranges from the orange grove and drank water from the hoses. That was a day.
Yeah, exactly, man.
So, how'd you get into law enforcement?
Oh man. So I wasn't a great student. I hated school. So like I never really had a clear path of what I wanted to do. The only thing that interested me was
police work. My parents had friends that were in law enforcement, so that kind of drew me to it a little bit. And then after I graduated high school, we got into like a seasonal police officer program, like summer cop. You know what I mean? You do that here when you're like 18. You don't carry a gun or anything. You just kind of go out and help out with things here and there, or whatever. Did that for a couple years. I liked it, and thought, well, I'll give this a try because I don't really know what else I want to do, and ended up getting hired. Went to the police academy, and boom, made it 19 years.
I mean, I guess one of the things interests me about law enforcement is it's a foreign world to me, coming from the fire side of things and kind of a military side of things. So the law enforcement side is like I said, it's almost a foreign language to me. So like, what's the typical span of a career for a law enforcement officer?
I'd say, most can retire at 20. I would say a lot of guys stay probably around 25-ish, around there. Yeah.
So it's typical for a firefighter as well. I mean, those are the numbers you're looking for to achieve a full retirement, correct?
Yeah. I think in Delaware, 20 years is 50%. So it's pretty good.
All right.
And then you max out at 30 years at like 87%, something like that.
30 years is a long time for any career, especially in a field like firefighting or law enforcement. That's a long time.
That's a lot to take in for a first responder, man.
That's a lot of shit to take in and try to deal with.
Yeah.
So you say that was the only thing that interests you. And so once you get into it, how do you take to it? Is it something that comes naturally to you and you find that you love it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it forced me to get out of my comfort zone a lot, as far as talking to people and things like that, showing that, let's say a side of power or anything, but that part where you have to be stern with people, you know what I mean? That was a little hard for me starting out, enforcing things like that. It was a little difficult, but it was good. It forced me to get out of my shell a little bit and experience a little more of life, and I enjoyed it.
So how does that, how long's your academy?
I think when I went, it was 24 weeks. So 6 months.
You come out and you do like anybody else, you kind of do a rookie year or
you do like,
you
come out and you do like a 12-week, it depends on where you work, but usually it's about 12-week, FTO program. So you'll ride with someone who's been there for a while, and they're going to show you the ins and outs, what needs to be done. They're going to supervise you one-on-one, make sure you're doing everything correctly, things like that.
So what's life like for basically a beat cop in Milford?
Oh man. Well, we worked 12-hour shifts, 2 weeks day, 2 weeks night. A lot of crime. We know a lot of crime, a lot of fights, burglaries. We have probably 1 or 2 homicides a year, something like that. Nothing crazy. Like I said, it's kind of a smaller town. But a lot of drugs, small little gang problems, things like that.
And then how long do you stay in that position as patrol officer? And then you start moving through these different, because I know you do some specialties, correct?
Yeah.
And I was reading about them, and there's a few there. And so how do you start to progress along those roads, and what earns you that right, for lack of a better term?
So I think as you get into it, you kind of learn what things you like, what things you don't like. Like some people like investigating drugs. Some people like investigating accidents or, burglaries or whatever it may be. Some people just want to do, school resource or something like that. And you kind of find your niche and go from there and feel it out. And I always tell them when they're starting out, find what you like and focus on that and try to learn as much about that as you can. Because if you want to go into, if you want to be a detective, you kind of got to know a little bit about everything, right? So focus on more of like investigations, like in-depth investigations, burglaries, things like that, things that have a little more investigative work to them. Same thing, like if you're in the canine, if you want to get a dog, find the canine guys. You go hang out with them, help them out, help them at training, get the bite suit, learn as much as you can, so that when the time comes for you to put into that position, you're a little ahead of the game,
So basically just get your name out there, prove that what you want to do and prove that you've got I guess the salt to carry it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So what do you do? What are some of the things you experienced and got to do in your career?
So I started out in patrol like everybody else. I got pretty lucky. I mean, it's a smaller agency, probably, I think we had 40 officers. So getting into a special unit there, it can be difficult. Some guys just never make it. But I was pretty lucky. I spent time in K9, a number of years of SWAT, um, criminal investigations, drug unit. Wow. And I wrote it out at the end of the last few years with the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. So I got to do a little bit of everything. It was a pretty good career. I had no complaints.
Did you have a preference for any of those, or was it one of those where you kind of just wanted to take in as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to take in as much as possible. Like, I like challenges. So there's always like starting something new would be a new challenge. But I would say the two things that I enjoyed the most were K9 and the Marshal Service. And the K9 was probably the most rewarding position I had because you got out of that what you put into it. You know, it was you and the dog. And if you didn't put the work into the dog, then you weren't going to get anything out of it, right?
Right.
And as far as the most fun I had, definitely with the Marshals Task Force, because I was with a great group of guys. We had lots of really cool training that we got to go to, and it was just a fun job, man. Fun job.
So when you say you're with the Marshals, you're just kind of adjunct to them, or what's the deal there?
Yeah. So they'll take you and they'll swear you in as like a special deputy. So you have all the federal arrest powers, and you can travel across state lines and investigate crimes across state lines and do whatever you got to do. So you're still with your agency. You basically loaned out.
Right.
Like my agency basically loans me out to them, and I'm given their powers to investigate fugitives. So it might be fugitives from my agency. I might get handed a fugitive from another agency that I have to work on, whatever it may be. Yeah.
That's actually fascinating. I didn't know that was actually a thing to kind of go on loan like that.
Yeah. That's the way I put it. I mean, they don't call it going on loan, but that's pretty much what you're doing. But it brings resources to your agency, because now if you have a fugitive, like say we had a fugitive for, homicide or something, and then the guy said we didn't know where he was. Now I have all those federal resources to help me track this guy down, and everyone else at the agency, the rest of the detectives, and continue doing what they got to do on other cases. And I can just focus on tracking down this individual.
No, it makes total sense now that you put it that way. Yeah. I mean, it does. That makes totally sense.
Now I think it's become a task force we had throughout the state. I think we have like 15 or 20. So now my agency just gained 20 hands to help me with that case,
Cool. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, that's a smart way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Now you say it's a good time, but now this is where things change for you though, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They changed. Yeah.
So that's pardon me, but that's not a good time, dude.
Well, it was all a good time except for one day.
Except for one day. So set that day up for us. What were you doing leading up to that day?
So yeah, I had been on the task force for a couple of years, and so it was December 10th, 2020. And like any other day, we usually started pretty early. Sometimes 5 or 6 in the morning we start. It's kind of what we had going on, and we usually work into the night pretty good because we were really proactive. It was me and 3 other guys that were part of our initial team. Like we call it the South team, South end of the state. We were pretty heavy on cases. This day in particular, I got home at a pretty good time. It was like 5 o'clock, so I'm getting dinner ready with the family, and we get a group text from our boss about a fugitive in the area that I was residing in. It was Rehab Beach, Delaware. He's one out of Pennsylvania for attempted homicide, and he was thought to be at a hotel that was actually about 10 minutes from my house at the time. And the goal was the guys from Pennsylvania were going to come down in the morning, meet us, and we were going to go try and make contact with this guy. Well, I was like, well, it's 10 minutes from my house. I'll just run out real quick, see if I can get a vehicle description, find a vehicle. That way I know, like, hey, yeah, the guy's car is there. Like, if they want to come down from PA, come on down. So that we're not wasting anybody's time, So, my wife and I went out to check this car. So I do head on out. As soon as I pull in, boom, car's in the parking lot, confirm the tag number, call my boss. Hey, car's here. We're good to go for tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. On the phone with him, and the suspect comes out of the hotel, and everything starts matching up. He comes out, got a girlfriend with him, and he has her 2 small kids. And they get in the car, and they leave. I'm not worried about him leaving. I'm not going to do anything by myself, obviously. I'm not going to do anything crazy. But they get in the car and leave. I'm not worried that they're checking out. There's no bags, no luggage or anything. They're probably going to dinner. So I let them ride, give it a few minutes, and then I head back home and, just finish dinner with my family. And then I get home and I'm just kind of like, man, it's not sitting well with me. Like, this guy's wanted for attempted murder. Now I know where he's at. Like, who's to say he doesn't leave in the middle of the night, or who's to say he doesn't get pulled over by some random patrol cop who doesn't know what he's dealing with and goes south for him. You know what I mean? So talking over with my teammates, talking over with our supervisor, and they all agree, like, yeah, we should probably just do this tonight and get it done with. Pennsylvania's okay with it. So that's what we do. So I head back out there. I get there first because, like I said, I'm like 10 minutes away. 2 other guys show up. 2 other partners of mine show up from my South team. And we take up a position in the parking lot of this hotel. And now we got to come up with a game plan. And this guy comes back before everyone else gets here, because we got like 10 people coming to help us out with this operation. But they're all a good hour out. North end of the state, we got guys coming from Salisbury, Maryland. They're like 45 minutes to an hour away. So we have some time. But now we got to figure out what we're going to do. If he comes back before they get here, are we going to do it with just the 3 of us, or are we going to wait till they get back? If we wait till they get back, that means the guy's back in the hotel. And now we've got there and make contact for this hotel room. We got barricade subject. We got hostages. We got, we have shots fired in a hotel room that with bullets spraying into other people's rooms. Just all kinds of bad stuff, right? The other option is we take him in the parking lot at his vehicle. Yeah, there's only 3 of us, but we can still block his car in. If we do get into a shooting, it's 7:30, almost 8 o'clock at night. It's a Thursday. There's not a lot of people out. It's the winter time. It's not summer where there's a lot of people in town. It's probably the safest option. Sure enough, guy comes back in the parking lot before everybody gets there. Pulls up in the front row, right in front of the hotel, so he can't go anywhere. The front of his car is blocked by the hotel. So I'm going to pull in from the back, block the rear of the vehicle, and then my partners, Josh and George, are going to pull in from the passenger side and the driver's side. So that's what we do. I give the command to go. We go in, pull in, everything goes good. My one partner, Josh, who came on the driver's side, couldn't get all the way up to his door to block his door because there was an unrelated vehicle parked next to him. So pull my car up, and I come in at a really, really shitty angle, to the point where, like, when I open my door up, I'm pretty much facing down the side of his car where his door would open up at. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I get out of my car. I already have my gun out because I know what we're dealing with. And as soon as I get out, his door cracks open, his hand punches out, and instantly I just have muzzle flashes in my face. And we're about 6 feet apart. And we're at the rear of his vehicle at the bumper of it.
And you're out of your car at this point, correct?
At this point, yeah, I'm out. I'm standing up, and like I said, my gun's out. So now when I see his hand punch out with his gun, I'm bringing my gun up to return fire. So I get 3 rounds off on him. One goes right into his door. I missed the headshot by a few inches. He comes out on 2 feet. I get 2 more shots off. Hitting center mass in his chest. Doesn't phase him. I don't know how many he got all on me, but he landed 6 rounds on me.
Jesus.
So I took 1 round through my left shoulder. I took 1 through my left hand, 2 on my right arm. I took 1 that off my plate carrier, actually ricocheted and landed in my face. And then I took 1 to my right femur, which shattered my femur and just dropped me right there at the back of the car. So I hit the ground. I can't see anything because my vision's blocked now by like at the back of this car. So like my head's like behind his driver's side rear tire. And then my body's like laid out. Like where you would walk down the side of this car, my body's kind of laid out there. So now I'm on the ground. I can hear shots going off still. I don't know if he's shooting at me. I don't know if he's shooting at Josh and George. They're shooting back. I don't know what the hell is going on at this point. And when I'm on the ground, this is seconds, just a few seconds long. But there's a million things going through my mind, right? In these short few seconds. And one of them is my family. I'm thinking about life and death, obviously, but more than that, I'm thinking about my wife, I'm thinking about my son. And all of a sudden, this voice comes in the back of my head. Like, just, you ever get that, like, that little voice in the back of your head, like, don't do this, don't do that, or you're not good, whatever it may be. We all have that little voice, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this voice comes in and he's screaming at me. He's saying, you failed. You fucking failed, and now they're going to pay for it. And when I hear that, I instantly just see black, and I see my wife's face, I see my son's face, and that's all I can see. And they're looking at me, and they weren't like sad, they were like smiling, like, hey, come on, like, come home, come back to dinner, you know what I mean? And the voice, as terrible as it was in that moment, that voice actually kind of helped save me. Because it was that voice that really got me thinking, like, you gotta be fucking moving, man. Like, this guy's gonna take 2 or 3 steps. He's not put a bullet in the fucking head, So I did the only thing I could do, which I used my elbows and I used my left leg, and I pushed and crawled as much as I could and tried to jam my body underneath the rear of his car for the purpose of trying to protect as much of my vital parts as I could. And I thought, well, if I could get under this vehicle and he does come back here, hopefully he just shoots my legs up and I don't bleed out any more than I am already, right? And that voice, to jump ahead a little bit, man, like that voice, it just fucking went on to haunt me for a long time. You know what I mean? For days, weeks, months. It just haunted me. It was always there. And even like to this day, like I still have that voice pop up once in a while, but you just, after so long, you learn how to deal with it, how to cope with it, how to fight it off. You know what I mean? But I feel like that voice is always there for whatever reasons. But back in that moment, so I'm on the ground and I'm underneath the car, shots are going off, all this shit's going through my mind, and all of a sudden the gunfire just stopped. And it's just silent. I don't hear shit. And then I hear one of my partners, I hear Josh yelling for me, like, where are you at? Where are you at? He comes over, finds me, picks me up, or drags me out from underneath the car, picks me up, first trying to ignore me, picks me up, throws me in the back of his car. And now we're off to the hospital. George stayed behind with the suspect in the parking lot, who ended up dying in that parking lot. He ended up taking 10 or 11 rounds before he went down in the parking lot. So Josh medevaced me to the nearest hospital, which is about 8 minutes to get there. And then from there, I was flown to another hospital. And at the time when it happened, my wife and I we were between homes. We had just sold a home. We were just breaking ground on building another one. So we were staying with my in-laws, which was really like a saving grace for us that night, because before my agency could get to her and notify her what had happened, she had already found out through text messages and phone calls from friends that found out. He was, husbands are cops, and shit's on Facebook. Like, it's that fast, man. So she found out. She was at home, laying in bed with her son. He was 7 at the time, reading him a story. That she was getting text messages from friends asking if she's okay, if she needs anything, and she doesn't know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
And then finally her friend actually calls her. She's like, oh, you don't know? She's like, nah, but no, what's going on? She's like, oh, TJ's been shot. He's at the hospital. So she gets a ride to the hospital from my father-in-law. She gets there. She probably got to the hospital within 20 minutes 20, 25 minutes of me being shot, which is crazy if you think about it. If she gets there, sees me, I'm out at this point because I was awake this whole time, but when I got to the hospital, I was screaming at him to knock me out. So
Yeah, I can only imagine. Jesus.
yeah. But you know what's crazy, man? Like I took all those rounds, but the only thing I felt was my leg. I guess your body can only focus on so many pain points at one time.
Right.
So all the pain was focused on my leg. I didn't feel my hands. I didn't even know all the gunshot wounds I had until days later. I just knew I knew my leg was shot. I knew my hand was shot. And I knew I had a bullet sticking out of my face. I didn't know about my shoulders, my arms. I didn't know about any of that shit.
Right.
It's wild. But
body does weird things, dude. Brain
it's
does
crazy,
even
man.
weirder things.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, it's wild. But on that, all over the place. So on that ride to the hospital, it was weird, man, because like, you know, you're in shock, you know, obviously, but I was still able to keep my wits and process everything fairly well. Like we came out of the parking lot and I'm from the area. So I know where we're at, you know, whereas Josh, he's not from this area. He lives about a little over an hour north. So he wasn't sure where the hospital was exactly. And he had the hospital programmed on his GPS in his phone, which is part of our pre-op. We always do that when we go on mittens. But his phone rolled off the dashboard when we came out of the parking lot, so he lost it. So I'm in the back seat, and I'm laying here on my back, and I can see us pass. I see like billboards and signs for like restaurants and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Are you going south?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "We gotta go north, man." So he whips it around. He's going forth, and we're communicating the whole time to the point where I was actually in the back seat, trying to like, I'm a smart ass anyway. I'm never going to be sad regardless of the situation we're in. So I was just back there like being a smart ass and cracking jokes. And I was apologizing for bleeding all over his seats because he had a brand new car. The Marshalls had just bought my brand new truck in the night as well, leather and shit. And I was bleeding out everywhere. So I was making jokes about ruining his seats. And, but I also had the wits to really stop, realize what was going on, and try to put a plan in place and think about the steps ahead. So I knew my leg was bad to the point where I was already convincing myself that I was going to lose it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to wake up in the hospital and be surprised I didn't have a leg.
Right.
I wanted to wake up and be surprised that I did still have a leg. You know?
Yeah.
And I had already made peace with it right there in the seat. I was like, go ahead and take the leg, man. Just let me live. You know what I mean? Let me get through this. I can people go through life every day like that. It's not a big deal. But to jump ahead, you know, luckily I was able to keep it. I just had a rod put in it. But they get me up to the next hospital, which is like a little over an hour north. I'm out cold at this point. This is a Thursday. Friday afternoon, they kept me under. I had surgeries, my first round of surgeries around like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And then that night, I started to come out of it a little bit. I don't remember much. I have like glimpses of I remember seeing a glimpse of my wife and like a glimpse of my parents. And that's pretty much it. Saturday, when I started to come out of it. But this is December of 2020. So this is like COVID, right?
Right.
So I wasn't allowed to have visitors, including my family. I could see my wife and my son while I was in the hospital, and I was in the ICU for 7 days.
Yeah.
So that was fucking terrible.
Of course it was.
The one thing I had going for me was because of what had just happened, it was a safety concern for me. It's security concern for me, right? So I was allowed to have a member of my agency with me and a member of the Marshal Service with me 24/7 to keep me company, thankfully. I just couldn't see my family, which was pretty shitty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from there it was, what am I looking at here? What kind of injuries am I looking at? What kind of recovery am I looking at? And they're telling me I got, upwards of 2 years before I can consider trying to run again.
Yeah.
And for me, that was soul crushing, man, because that was like, I was a runner, did a lot of triathlons, competed in some Ironmans, I did CrossFit every day. Physical fitness is a huge part of my life at this point. I didn't want to give that shit up. I didn't want to not be able to, and my hands were all jacked up. So it's like, I don't want to not be able to play baseball with my son in the backyard or wake up on Sunday mornings and go for long runs with my wife in the park like we always did. So that, I mean, that was just soul crushing to hear it. And I just decided like, that's not going to be me, man. Like, this is not going to be a 2-year recovery for me. We're going to expedite this. And I decided that I'm going to give it 12 months. I'm going to run a half marathon in under 12 months. And of course, everyone thinks I'm fucking crazy because I'm all doped up in the hospital and shit, right? So I really fucking believed it. Which is fine.
That's the opiates talking.
Yeah. So everyone was thinking it probably was at the time. You know what I mean? So I spent a week there. Day 7, I finally get to see my wife and my son. As I was leaving, they were going to transport me to a live-in rehab facility. And so they transport me down, and they take me in the ambulance. My wife and my son get to ride with me, which was great. Like I said, my son was 7. So the whole thing was kind of, I remember when I saw him, I'm on a hospital gurney, and my hands are all wrapped up like boxing mitts because they're broke. I got pins and rods coming out of them and shit.
Yeah.
And my face is bandaged up and shit. So he's just like a deer in headlights. He doesn't know what the hell is going on. And like I'm crying.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like stone faced, like what the fuck is going on? So the ambulance ride was actually pretty good because I got to crack some jokes with him and let him chill out a little bit, let him know I'm good. And then we get down to the live-in rehab facility that night. This is the following Thursday night, a week later. And to get me down there, take me up to my room, with me and my wife, and hospital, like administrative staff. They give me a quick spiel, welcome, we'll come in the morning, go over a game plan with you, blah, blah, blah. The one good thing about this place was I didn't have visitors, but they were going to allow my wife up every day between visiting hours, which was like 8 to 8, as much as she wanted. So they were being real good with me with that because no one else is allowed to have visitors in that place. So I'm in that, so they leave, my wife leaves, and now I'm in this room by myself. It's nighttime, and I'm realizing like, fuck, this is the first time I've had 1 second to myself since this shit happened. Like, this is the first time I've been able to sit down and actually think about what the hell just happened to me and start processing it. And I'm just like, oh man, like I'm jacked up. My hands don't work at all because my right hand broke as well because when my leg got hit and I fell on top of it with all my gear and crushed it. So both my hands are totally broken. Like none of my fingers work, nothing. And I'm just thinking like, what the fuck am I going to do in here? And I started thinking on a book that I had read years prior, probably about 6 years prior. Actually, I got it right here. It's called The Trident by Jason Redman. I read that book about 6 years prior, and I won't go into his whole story, but for those of you that are listening, he was a SEAL who was severely injured and spent a lot of time at Walter Reed. And during his time there, to help motivate him with recovery, he put this sign on his door. And the sign basically is a motivation tool, basically. It's long story short. So I thought about that for some reason. Well, it was that morning. The nurse came in about 6 a.m. and the door opened up. That door opening up with that light made me think about it. Like, I got to do something here. And I just remember that sign on the door that I made, like, boom, it clicked on me. So my wife comes in and I was saying, I need some marker and poster board. She's like, oh, okay. So she gets it. She's like, what do you want me to write? I'm like, no, I'm going to write it. I just think you stick a pen in my cast and I'll just kind of move it around the best I can. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. And I made the sign.
I had an image of you writing with a pen in your mouth, by the way.
Yeah, I thought about that. I just had this old box of it and I'm just like moving it around like a 2-year-old. You know what I mean? And it's probably not, it's not really all that legible, but I made this sign. And I made it for 2 reasons. One was for what it really was, which was, it was a warning because it was a warning to people coming in there, the nurses and everybody. And with people coming in there with pity party attitude.
Right.
If you're going to come in here for whatever it is, you need to come in here with a smile on your face. You need to come in here with a good attitude, uplifting. I don't put anybody in here with a sad face, woe is me, poor me, and any of that shit. I didn't want it because that is not the kind of shit that's going to help me. You know what I mean? And the other reason was I knew every morning I woke up, I was going to be waking up with that door opening up with a nurse. And that sign on the door was going to be the first thing that I saw every morning. And if I didn't live my day by my words on my sign, now it's a fucking hypocrite. That's all it was, you know? And so it was a reminder for me to keep pushing towards where I wanted to be. And my long-term goal was to run that half marathon in under 12 months. But in order to get there, I had to do a lot of things, man. I can't just like jump in all the way. Like, oh, I'm going to run a half marathon. You got to start small, right? No. You got to have checks and balances. You got to have you got to have small goals. So that's what I did, man. I made short-term goals, and there were simple things like, you know, at night, I always called nurse down from the nurse station, take me for a walk with my walker. So like at night, we're going to walk down to that person's door and back. The next night, we're going here. Next night, we're going there. And by the end of the week, I'm going to be at the nurse's station at the end of the building. I want to come back, you know? So small steps like that. If they gave me during physical therapy, if they gave me, you know, 3 repetitions of something, I was doing 5 or 6. If it was, you know, 3 or 4 rounds, I was doing 5, 6 or 7 rounds, you know? So everything was 1 more rep, 1 more round, and eventually worked itself in, pushing myself into 1 more mile, right? That was my goal. And my first long-term goal I had was the day that I checked out of that place, I wanted to walk out under my own power. I didn't, you know, their goal was to get me out of there using a walker. I didn't want any freaking walker, man. I wanted to be off that thing before I left. And that's what I pushed for while I was there. And I did it. The day I came to leave, and I was able to leave under my own 2 feet without a walker, a cane, you know, any of that garbage. I didn't want it, and I didn't need it. So we left, got home. The next day, I started outpatient physical therapy.
Hey, before you go any further, let me ask you, what did the sign say? Hey guys, quick break right here just to check in and thank each of you for listening to the show. Your support has been paramount, and I appreciate all of you. I have one request though. I need you to share the show with everyone you know. Help me get the word out and spread these stories as far and as wide as we can. While you're at it, please leave a review of the show wherever you happen to listen. Feel free to reach out to me at any time to share your story, to talk, or to pass on suggestions. Let's get on with the rest of the show.
So the sign says, let's see if I remember it. The sign says, to all who make entry here, you must enter with hard minds and a strong ethos. I'm not here to get back to where I was. I'm here to be better than I was. And I will surround myself with like-minded people. Do not enter with dejection, disdain, sadness, or empathy, or you will be turned away. I received these injuries doing a job I love, with people, a community that I love, and I received them alongside my brothers, who I would join against soon. And I signed it, put my patches on it, and smacked it up.
All right.
Yeah.
That sets a tone. That sets a tone for anybody coming in that room.
Yeah, it was pretty stern to the point where I put it up there, and it was like 3 minutes. And I got like the administrative staff in my room, like, what's wrong? Like, who messed up? Who did something wrong? Like, who made you mad? I'm like, dude, I'm all good, man. Like, this is just a motivational tool, dude. Like, that's all it is. Everyone's great. Everyone's been nice. There's no problem.
Right.
And they were a little worried about it.
Yeah.
But it worked out. But yeah, we started the outpatient physical therapy. And when I got there, it was New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve night, I got there like 6 o'clock. Met my physical therapist, and same thing.
So hold up. You got shot December of 2020.
Correct.
What was the day in December again?
December 10th.
And by New Year's Eve, you're an outpatient.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty miraculous in itself. That's a testament to your willpower alone.
Yeah, I got out of the live-in rehab early. I think I was there for 13 days. And they
Yeah.
released me early.
All right. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we say New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
That jumped out to me a little bit. So, all right. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah. So we get to the outpatient and same thing, you know, I meet with her. She gives me her expectations and I give her mine back. She's like, okay, what's your goals? I'm like,
Right.
I'm running a half marathon in the next 12 months. She's like, oh, all right, cowboy, take it easy. Yeah, amazing. But I think she learned real quick that I wasn't looking around. Like I was there on business. So this is, you know, January 1st, you know, New Year's Eve, January 1st. So April comes around and I'm doing fairly well. And, you know, it's spring. So like weather's starting to turn and I come in and her therapist's name is Sim. And I'm like, Sim. She's like, yeah. I'm like, you know what today is? She's like, nah, what is it? What's that? I'm like, it's a nice day out. I think it's time to go for a run. She's like, all right, fuck it. Let's go for a run. I was like, well, so we go outside, to the parking lot and so go ahead and try to run. So I ran like a half a block slow. When I say running, it's like a shuffle, slow jog. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I did it, man. I went down a half block, came back half block. And I remember just running and sounding like a kid who just learned how to ride a bicycle.
Of course.
Right there in the middle of the street, man. It was just a really powerful feeling I had. Just even for that little bit of a run or jog, whatever you want to call it. I felt like I had accomplished something pretty big.
It also gives you a sense of freedom in a way, right?
Yeah, man. Like I was running along like an anti-gravity treadmill.
Right.
Which is really cool. It's like it basically fills up air and makes you lighter, right? So you can run on like 100% of your body weight, or you can run on like 5% of your body weight. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. It's how they break you back into it. So I was doing that for quite a while. And from that moment, I just started getting at it, man, to the point where like my physical therapist was like, we need to back it down a little bit. You're a little overboard. So I would go home and just start going for little runs and stuff. My wife would go with me. My son would go with me. But I just kept at it. And before that day came, I had already signed up for a half marathon in November. When I got home from the hospital, I was like, we're signing up. This shit's happening.
Right.
So I worked my way through the summer and November comes and I go to the half marathon and I run it. And I crossed the finish line and I had actually ran the fastest half marathon I had ever run in my life.
Yeah.
I set a new record for myself after being shot 11 months prior and being told it would be upwards of 24 months until I could actually do that. So I remember crossing the finish line and just collapsing that finish line. One, because it was fucking hurt. My leg was feeling pretty bad. But other than that, it was just this feeling went into my body of every emotion that you could possibly imagine. I mean, happiness, sadness, anger, fear, frustration. I mean, you name it. It was all just exploding at me to the point where I didn't know if I was crying or if I was laughing. It was just a really crazy sensation. But it was great. And I was like, man, like I would feel this again. So 2 weeks later, I signed up for another one and ran another half marathon. And I ran that one slightly faster. So I set another record. It felt great, but it wasn't as good as knocking out that first one. And I just tried to keep it going from there. So, you know, that was, the second one I ran was 6 days shy of the 1 year mark. But I kept running, kept pushing myself in some things. March came around and I did that, Joggins challenge at 4x48. So, you know, 4 miles every 4 hours, 48 hours for 48 miles. Knocked that out. June came to the 18-month mark and I did a half Ironman, which was 70 miles, which was a big check mark for me. And then from there, I just kept going, man. I just kept going and I continue to do that with everything I do now, just try to push myself every way possible. And I like challenges. I like looking for new challenges, and that's part of, why I like public speaking is I like getting out and sharing these experiences and letting people know, just because someone's telling you you can't do something, it don't mean you can't do it. You can do whatever you want to do. It's just up to you to figure out how you're going to get it done. And that's what I'm doing now. And that's what I'm doing.
It takes you 11 months, we'll say, to recover physically, and to the point, and I mean recover because then you're recovered at that, or recovered because you've run this half marathon the fastest you've ever run it before, right?
Yeah.
It hurts, but you do it.
Right.
But that's the physical side. So how do you deal with the mental side of it as well? Because you said that first night in the assisted living that you realized, oh, fuck, I'm here and this is me. And I know you made the sign, but it doesn't just magically disappear at that point.
No. The mental thing is something that you're always going to deal with, but that's the thing. You have to deal with it, and you got to deal with it in the right ways. And in the early stages, like then, it was hard. I mean, there were days that I'm not going to tell you I won every day because I didn't.
Right.
There were days that I was totally defeated. But everyone always asks me like, what pushed you, what drove you, this and that. And, everyone has their own, will have their own reasons and what's going to drive them to success. And mine was my family. It's like I said, I wanted to play ball with my son. I wanted to go on runs with my wife. And one of the things that haunted me in that place and throughout my recovery was the thought of being a burden.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a burden. And that was the thing that really, really pulled on me, was living my life knowing that my wife and my son are going to have to take care of me somehow. So, I didn't want that.
Mm-hmm.
And it scared me to the point where I wanted to do something about it. I wasn't just going to sit around and accept things as they were. And to be honest with you, if I wasn't married and I didn't have kids, I don't know, maybe things would have been different for me. I can't say, but for me, that was my driving factor. And that's what kept me not giving up. That's what kept me coming back into the fight every morning to keep pushing myself. But like I said, there's going to be, there were days that I just lost,
Yeah.
Mentally, I just lost. I just had to hold on the best I could and start over the next day. And that's what I did.
Yeah. You mentioned that voice that hit you right after you were shot and you're laying there and you're basically blaming yourself for, leaving your family basically.
Yep.
And that voice, you said it creeps back in every once in a while. And like you said, it's how you deal with it once you hear it is the difference.
Right. Right. So like me, like I feel like with that voice, you feed it. Like I feed that voice with self-doubt, right? That's what the voice is all about. It's all about negativity. It's all about doubting yourself, dragging you down and keeping you down, right? Well, if you don't think that way, you're not giving it energy. You're not giving that voice energy, So whenever I have that voice creeping in, I always remind myself, like, look where you were and look where you are now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, keep pushing yourself, keep trying new things, keep striving for more, keep wanting more. Like even, like now, like, the voice still comes around now, like I'm, getting out of law enforcement for 19 years and thrown back into society to do something different is very hard for me. I mean, I've been a cop since I was 21 and I'm 42 now. So to get out of that world and like, I gotta learn how to do something new now. Like this is hard,
Yeah.
Well,
that was a hell of a U-turn.
Yeah. Like I'm doing shit now that I never thought I'd be doing, but I mean, I never wanted to. I never wanted to be like a public speaker or anything like that,
right?
Or I never thought about writing a book. And how am I going to write a book for it? But you push yourself, and that's why I did it, and that's why I continue to do those things, and that's why I continue to not let that voice win. Because in a way, fuck it, come on, boys, like bring it, like it's right now. You're feeding me. Yeah, I mean, I let that voice feed me in the way that I used to feed it. No, that's the way I look at it.
Back on that day in December of 20, what was that time frame that from the moment you opened that door and he drew, I gotta imagine it was what, 20 seconds?
The whole incident from the time the first shot went off to the time we were out of the parking lot was probably 45 seconds, 50
That's just a
seconds.
flash.
Was a flash, man. And that exchange between he and I were probably, I mean, a couple seconds, like boom, boom.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how fast you can pull a trigger and get 3 shots off or 6 shots off. It's pretty quick.
Right. And just imagine that your whole life right there, it pivoted on a dime right in that span of we'll go with 10 seconds for the exchange for you guys. And that's probably pushing it. And then that 45 seconds, extrapolating that out to 45 seconds and the fact that you didn't allow, and you're not going to allow those 10 seconds of your life to negatively impact you for the rest of your life. There's a testament to your strength and your willpower.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I look at it, like, I'm not glad that it all happened. But I'm thankful for what I got out of it. And like, the whole thing is like, you can't go back and change anything. So
Right.
It happens. Right. And the only thing you can do is deal with it the best that you can deal with it. And that's the way I look at it. Like, maybe it did happen for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like God gives us opportunities and it's up for us to recognize those opportunities,
Right.
And I feel like with that happening, it was an opportunity presented to me to do something more with my life. Right. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to look at it as, now what do I do? Now, how do I keep putting this positivity out in the world?
Right.
And I guess that brings me to what I'm at let me look at your website so I don't screw this up, because I will screw it up. So Fit for Duty Foundation.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that and what the purpose is there. And is this something that was born solely from your incident and the recovery, or is this something you had thought about before?
No, so this is something I had never thought of before, never thought about starting a nonprofit or anything like that. So during my recovery, I was doing really well with fitness and with my recovery. So towards the tail end of it, my wife and I talked about, I think we should start a nonprofit to try to push physical fitness towards steps more. So we did some research on it, and basically we started the Fit for Duty Foundation. And what we do is we sponsor police officers who aren't in the best shape and want to start their fitness journey.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that by sponsoring them for 3 months at CrossFit or some sort of like functional fitness style gym to get them started. And we pay for their first 3 months membership. And then we try to get that gym to keep them on at every more affordable rate.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about is you were, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're probably pretty fucking fit when you got shot.
Yeah. If there's one thing that doctors and I agreed upon, it was that I would not have had the recovery I did if I was not in the shape I was going into it, for sure. I'm in better shape now because I take it a lot more serious now than I did then. Especially like nutrition and everything. I look at the importance of that now. But yeah, if I wasn't in the shape I was in then, it would have been a different outcome, probably, for sure.
And that's something that I wish not just cops, but firefighters and EMTs and shit, man. Let's be honest. When's the last time we saw many healthy doctors? I wish people would take this so much more seriously, because, heaven forbid you do get injured on the job. Your recovery, as you just said, is going to be at least a little easier if you've got some health going into that injury. However, we see these deconditioned cops and firefighters and whatever they are, we see how deconditioned they can be. And then you just know that if something's going to happen there, it's going to be a long road to recovery, if that recovery ever comes at that point.
Right. Right. And as a, you know, public servant doing what we do in the first responder world, like you need to be fit. You need to be in shape because I mean, if you're in, look at yourself in the shape that you're in. Do you want someone that's in the same shape you are saving your family? Like how fit are you? You know what I mean? Do you feel
Yeah.
confident going into a house and pulling out someone bigger than you to get them out of the
Yep.
fire or to pull your partner from a gunfight? Like how fit are you? You know?
Right.
And I think because, and you know, as a firefighter, you know, like a lot of that falls on how hard it is on us with shift work.
Yeah. Well, true.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
brutal. It's brutal on your health, your fitness. It's brutal on your nutrition. I mean, it's a hard thing, man. If you're not in the routine of having a healthy lifestyle with that, it's hard to get into one.
Hmm.
And that's one reason I started Fit for DD Foundation. That's another reason why I started getting more into, you know, coaching nutrition. As I like to try to help people get on a healthier routine with those sort of things.
So tell me about your coaching.
Yeah. So, health and nutrition. So I do, you know, if someone's looking to not just first responders, anybody, if you're trying to get a little healthier lifestyle, you know, learn more about nutrition and the ins and outs of what you should be eating or shouldn't be eating, or if you're trying to cut some weight or whatever it is, you know, I help you with your nutrition, dial in your macros, custom to you, get you on a fitness routine, give you some, you know, your workout plan. If you're a law enforcement, I'll try to get you in with fit for duties, get you going with that, and just get you on the right path to a healthier lifestyle.
How long you been doing this?
I've been doing this for about 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
So pretty new.
And it's something that you found that you enjoy?
Yeah. So I ended up, like I said, I've always been into fitness. And I've always ate fairly well, but I never got into the whole nutrition thing, like with, you know, macros and all that kind of stuff. So I actually had a coach and I enjoyed the process of it. I enjoyed being coached and learning more about it and everything that goes behind it. So I started doing my own research and got certified as a nutritionist and thought, man, this is really cool if I started getting into coaching and help people change their lives around. So that's what I did.
So this is your life now. You travel, you speak, you've
Yep.
written a book, you do nutrition and health coaching, you
Yeah.
have the foundation. Well,
Yeah.
what else are you doing? What, I mean, do you, when do you sleep at that point?
Well, that's another thing. I have a very, dialed in daily routine. So I'm usually in bed at 8 p.m. Everything's off by 9 typically. And then my alarm set is 3 a.m. I'm up every day at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a whole routine where I get up, have my coffee. I have my me time where I sit and reflect on, you know, where I've been, where I'm at, where I plan to be. I have a little more, you know, my morning stretches and have a whole routine set up. And that's part of my coaching is to get you dialed in on daily disciplines.
Is 3 like for you? Are you forcing yourself up at 3, or is that comfortable for you?
In the beginning, I was forcing myself to do it.
Yeah.
That was the thing that my coach had. You know, that was a big thing on him is getting up early. And I thought, man, this is going to be crazy. But I started doing it. And after a couple of weeks, I was like, man, I really enjoy this. Like once my body adjusted to it,
Right.
it's just, you know, I'm not on the phone. Like the whole world's asleep. You know, I
Yeah.
don't need, no one's calling me or texting me. I don't need to be checking emails. I don't need to worry about any of that garbage. it's my time to focus on me and whatever I process in my head. It's quiet. The family's asleep.
Yeah.
And I look forward to going to bed so I can get up at 3 and start my day.
You know, what's funny is someone's out there, they've listened to your story that you've been shot 6 times, that you had this, this hell of a recovery and you've run these marathons, and that someone there's going, yeah, he's fucking crazy for getting up at 3 every morning.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah, but it gives you a chance to punch the day right in the face.
You do, man. And then, like I said, like, you know, it gives me, I feel like my day is a lot more productive now since I've started doing it because my mind starts operating and firing on cylinders a lot earlier. So before the day's even kicked off, I already have a plan of attack for new things, new ideas that I want to get out, you know?
Well, and if people think you're crazy for the 3 a.m. thing, I'm going to think you're even crazier for doing 30 days of Murph.
Yeah, I just completed 30 days of Murph. That was challenging.
See, if anybody out there doesn't understand what Murph is, tell them what a Murph is.
Yeah, so Murph is, it's a very popular workout. It starts with a 1 mile run. If you do it the programmed way, you wear a 20-pound vest and you run. It starts with a 1 mile run. You do 100 pull-ups, you do 200 push-ups, you do 300 squats, and then you finish with a 1 mile run, all while wearing the 20-pound vest. So yeah, I just did 30 days of that, and I wasn't even. It was just like, I'll just do random shit sometimes. My wife is crazy. Probably am. I don't know. So I did the Memorial Day Murph, which I do every
Right.
year at my CrossFit. So we did that on Monday, Memorial Day, and then Saturday morning I woke up and I was, I think I'm gonna do Murph today. I feel good after that one. I'm gonna do another one. So I did one Saturday, but I didn't wear a vest. I was like, I'll take it a little easier and I won't wear the vest. And I finished that one and I was like, man, you know what? I've been looking for a new challenge. Like I gotta get out of every once in a while I like to get a little out of my comfort zone. It's like I get too comfortable with things. So I was like, I'm going to do 30 days of Murph, but I'm going to start tomorrow because I'm not counting today because I didn't wear a vest. So Sunday I woke up and I started, my wife's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm doing 30 days of Murph. And she's like, oh my God, you're fucking crazy. So I did 30 days of Murph. And with that, I tried to keep up on everything else I had. I still went to CrossFit a couple times through the week and I kept up on weight training throughout the week, to keep up on that. But it was I wasn't like overly sore with it. My whole body was just exhausted. I was just exhausted.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's upwards of an hour workout, so it's exhausting.
Yeah. So where are you going from here? Where do you think this is all going to take you?
Well, man, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like the cool thing about it. That's one thing I've really enjoyed about since retiring is just not knowing and not really trying to worry about too much and just let things happen,
Right.
The next challenge from here, I don't know. I got to think of something new. I might put a poll up, see what people think. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Careful, there might be someone crazier than you out there.
Yeah, there's definitely somebody crazier than me for sure. But I mean, I'm enjoying the book thing. I'm trying to get that out there. The public speaking thing's a lot of fun. I'm trying to pick up on that. I really just started getting into a lot of that more this year heavily. So I have a lot of conferences lined up throughout the year. So if anyone's interested in that, you can head to my website, my social media, and then reaching you there. And the book's a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of that, give us your website, give us your social media real quick so it's out there.
So my website is thetjwebb.com, which is where you can find the book at right now. Social media is at the TJ Webb, mostly on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but I don't mess with it too much. So Instagram is the best spot to find me. But yeah, that's it. The conferences, it's the book. I like hearing a lot of feedback on the book. I enjoy hearing what people think about it and what they've gotten out of it. So if you pick it up and get something out of it, please let me know. I enjoy hearing those things. But yeah, I'm enjoying the unknown.
Between your Instagram and our mutual friend Ryan, his Instagram, I feel like I'm a lazy slob every day. So I appreciate that motivation.
Yeah, he might be a little crazier than me. I don't know.
If he is, I don't know. He and I are going to get together and revisit his story. So I can't wait to get that conversation out of the way because he's an interesting dude. He's been through quite a bit himself. So
he has, man. He's got an interesting story, and he has definitely got the right head on his shoulders for sure. I mean, he's doing very well. I'm very proud of him. And people aren't familiar with his story. They need to check it out. It's really good.
Yeah. And like I said, he was on, I'd have to search for the episode number, but he was on in the past and he sent me a message just the other day and said, hey dude, I'm ready to revisit this. When do we want to talk? And so we're in the process of finding that time to get back together and kind of where are you now kind of story.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm trying to push him into public speaking. He'd be good at it.
Yeah, he might not shut up though. So be careful.
That's true.
All right, let's get to my final questions. And I know through this whole thing, I'm going, my God, getting shot and recovering, that's a moment of awe all in itself. But when's the last time you experienced a moment of awe?
A moment of awe.
You know, and I had a guest recently explain it to me. She said she knew she had a moment of awe when she was into photography and she saw something that she couldn't take a picture of because she couldn't do it justice. And I was like, that's a perfect way to explain it. You know, it's something that you look at it and you go, that's it. That's it. I don't know how to explain that.
I would say one thing that sticks out is last year we went on a family vacation. We're going again this year, but first time I went to Montana. We went hiking. We hiked up like 9,000 feet, and I was just sitting on the edge of this mountain, just looking for miles and miles and miles, and you just it really just puts you in disbelief that this actually exists. You know, I like you take pictures and all that, but it just doesn't do it justice on how beautiful some places really are.
Where did you hike?
So we were up near Glacier, in Kalispell, Montana.
Yeah.
I can remember it wasn't Glacier that we hiked, it was another mountain. I can't remember the name of it, but it's fucking gorgeous, man. Like, I just can't describe it.
This is a weird one for me because the universe works in weird ways, dude. Ironically, let's see, today is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning, I fly to Montana.
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm flying into Kalispell and we're going to stay there for for the weekend. There's a music festival out there I'm going to, and so we're going to be out there for the weekend and we're going to do some hiking.
Yeah.
And so now you've mentioned it. And then yesterday I get a text out of the blue from another guest. His name is TJ Tyler. And he lives in Wisconsin. And he said he had this moment of breakthrough with EMDR with his therapist. And the moment is he revisited the time he went to his grandfather's place in Montana. And I was like, there's Montana again. And so then you bring up Montana. It's everywhere right now. And I had a guy reach out to me on Instagram and say, hey man, I think what you're doing is wonderful. Keep it up. And I was like, it turns out he's running the page for the local for the fire department in Kalispell. And so now I've hooked up with that guy. I'm going to see him when I go out there. I don't know how it works like this, dude. The universe is weird.
It is. I'll be in Kalispell in 2 weeks. I'm going out there again in 2 weeks.
Oh, see, we see shit. If that festival had been a week later, we'd have been perfect.
I know. Yeah. I'll get you the name of the trail that I hike, man. It's just gorgeous. I'll get it to you.
All right. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I love it out there, man. I love it out there, man. It's beautiful.
This will be my first trip.
It's just a beautiful country.
It'll be my first trip, and I'm looking forward to it.
You'll love it, man. It's gorgeous.
All right. What about a book?
A book that I recently read?
Yeah. What about a book you want to offer up for the audience that I don't care if it's just entertainment or if it brings some value, whatever it is.
So the book that, this is the plug, obviously, but the book that I most recently read was mine.
Right. So show it. Talk about it.
Just One More right here. Yeah. Just One More by me. Like I said, you can pick it up at thetjwebb.com, and it'll detail the shooting. It'll detail some other critical incidents I dealt with throughout my career. Some of them I handled good. Some of them I handled not so good. And a lot of other little things that you can learn about me and my wife.
Awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Dude, I appreciate the conversation. This is one that I think we both took on just the word from Ryan, and he said you'd be a good fit, and you trusted what he was saying about the show, and I appreciate you coming on, man. Your story is inspiring, and I'm so happy to hear where you are now.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the opportunity and taking the time to listen to me and help me get it out there. So thank you.
Cool. All right. I think we're done, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening to another episode of The Things We All Carry. Head over to the website, thethingsweallcarry.com, for show notes, resources, and to sign up for the newsletter. Until next week, take care of yourselves and remember to check in on each other.